Congratulations on finishing your course. That was some hard work. Now what do I do with it? Is there anyone that will house my course and help me sell it? What if I can get an entire team to help me sell my course that I worked so hard on? Have I got a discovery for you? The Great Discovery not only has a place for your course, but a network of affiliates that are eager to sell your hard-earned course creation. Want to make a little more money so you can build your course or invest in yourself? Opportunities for all this and more await you at The Great Discovery, or go to tuepodcast.net/discovery for more information. Once again, that's tuepodcast.net/discovery for more information about how to join The Great Discovery now. This is an Undiscovered Legacy production. Hello, Skoop believers, and welcome to episode number 87 of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, and it's me, Skoop, coming at you whatever device you happen to be listening on. Okay, so today we're talking to a very special guest. Her name is Sam. Sam is a time management coach that helps people manage their time to be able to have that little extra time that you need to be able to start a side hustle or some kind of entrepreneur adventure. So I have a really kind of soft spot for her because I have a lot of time management issues that I have to square away. So time management is really, really important there for me and could be for anybody else too. When Sam was just first getting started, she took the leap and offered free one-on-one coaching despite doubting anyone would ever say yes. But that first yes completely transformed her confidence and kickstarted her side hustle of time management coaching. We also go over a couple of hurdles that we talk about in my podcast. Perfectionism, we talk about imposter syndrome, and how much perfectionism is the enemy of progress. Sam encourages embracing B- work, putting content out there regularly, instead of aiming for that one special perfect thing, but never launching because it's never 100% perfect. And how much the feedback instead is the key to growth. So let's get right into it and listen to or watch Sam. Are you ready to unlock your entrepreneur potential? Are you ready to break free from all the barriers holding you back? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, your first step in getting across the start line. I'm your host and guide, Skoop, and I'm here with one mission: to help you overcome the obstacles standing between you and the start of your adventure. Whether you're dreaming of launching a startup, creating the next big app, or turning your passion into a thriving business, this podcast is your launch pad. Together we'll navigate the challenges, overcome hidden boundaries that stop us from starting, and learn how to overcome them with the help of others, experience them right along with you. So are you ready to take that crucial step to transform from aspiring to inspiring? Then let's get across that start line together, right here, right now, on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Salutations, Skoop believers, and we're here again with another amazing entrepreneur. Today we are here with Sam. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Hi, Jesse. I'm fine. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, get across the start line. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really grateful. It's lovely to be here.
All right. So I have one kind of semi-serious question to ask you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Are you a Skoop believer?
Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much for being a Skoop believer, Sam. I really super appreciate you. All right. So what I'd like to do here at the very beginning is kind of get an idea of who you are and kind of what you do and how you actually got across the start line in your business.
Okay. So my name's Sam Hall. I live in the UK. I have a side hustle helping other women find time to build a side hustle. So basically, I'm somebody who is very good at time management, and I help other women with time management so that if they want to start a side hustle, they can find time in their busy schedule to do so. Now, how did I get across the start line? I posted on Instagram offering free one-to-one coaching. I fell in love with life coaching during COVID. I joined a life coaching program myself, and I thought I've got a background in psychology and social work. So I suppose life coaching was a similar area. And I thought I would really like to see if I could do this because I'd learned so much as a student of life coaching. So I put on Instagram, would anybody want to do free one-to-one coaching with me? Thinking nobody would say yes. And somebody who lives in Australia volunteered to be a guinea pig. And I just thought, my God, somebody actually trusts in me to want to work with me. And I started doing it with her and with other people and sort of built my confidence from there and thought, actually, I'm not bad at this. So it was just somebody saying yes when I volunteered my services.
That's awesome. It's always nice that somebody that actually will take a chance on you to be able to talk to you. And even if it's just to have a one-on-one conversation about what's going on in their life, we could still help them and point them in the direction where they want to go, where they want to be. But it's always to get that first yes.
Definitely. And I think you just think it's never going to happen. And I was so surprised. And once one person had said yes, I think I felt more confident then to offer it to other areas. Like I advertised in the local supermarket, put a flyer up, just simple things like that, messaged groups of friends, WhatsApp groups that I belong to and see if anybody wanted some help with time management. So I think it helped grow my confidence working with when one person said yes, and I thought I can do this. It built my confidence to offer it to other people.
It's fantastic, too, that you actually took that step across the start line and put yourself out there to say, hey, I'm here to help whoever wants help. And a lot of people find that really intimidating to actually put their name out there and say, hey, who needs some help out there to see what's going to happen?
Yeah, and I think it's hard when when people have seen you in a certain role sometimes. Like I have a job as a social worker when I'm not doing my side hustle and people see you in a certain way. And then when you're trying to offer something else, but people can, be really kind and interested when you're trying to do something. And I've got some really good feedback from people, say friends who live locally or people. So a woman who lives in my village just stopped me in the street and said, I signed up for your freebie and I found it really helpful. So sometimes people are quietly watching you and you don't realize that they're getting benefit from what you're putting out. So posts you might be putting out on Instagram or Facebook, not everybody's really vocal, but they can still be getting benefit from what you're putting out and finding value in your content, I think.
I'm hoping that's what's really going on with my podcast too. People listen to us, people listen to Sam and realize that she has something to offer or something that she just happened to say that really triggers something in their head. That's really what my goal is with this podcast, is to help other people, whether I know about it or not. Yeah. So that's amazing. Tell me a little bit more about the time management thing. When did you realize you were really good at time management?
I think I've always been somebody who's been on time for appointments and been organized. It's just something that's come naturally to me in my job as a social worker. I've just been good at planning. And I just think how you live the minutes and hours is how you live your life, really, isn't it? So I've become more interested in it and read a lot of books about time management. So I think it's just something that came naturally to me and I was good at. And I think sometimes when you're good at something and things come easy, you just expect everybody else to know how to do it. But not everybody has different talents and skills. And so I've realized that things that I think are really obvious, other people don't necessarily do. So being able to share my knowledge with people, I think others have found really helpful.
Sounds like time management and your experiences have really turned into your zone of genius and what you could really talk about and be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely. I think specifically, I look at it from people who want to start a side hustle I focus specifically on women. I think that even in a supposedly equal society, maybe women still feel more responsible for the household and the kids and things like that. So I talk about organizing home life and just things like cooking and looking after the house, homemaking stuff, so that women can find time around that for a side hustle.
When I first, let's see, you wouldn't even recognize me 3 years ago from what I'm doing now, but back then I had a really serious problem with time management. I was that guy that was fashionably late a half an hour. I was never on time for anything. I always forgot stuff. And now I have to, especially what I'm doing now, because I have 2 full-time jobs on top of podcasting, on top of coaching, on top of editing for another podcast. My time management has to be almost perfect now to be able to accomplish those things I accomplish. So the thing that really sets the time management thing for me was setting boundaries for myself. So what do you think about setting boundaries for yourself in time management? How does that come across?
It's about prioritizing it and deciding what's important. When I talk about boundaries in the post that I share, I talk about protecting time. So women who want to start a side hustle, I say, if you're taking the time to plan the work you want to do, and that can be true of any work, like in your day job, if you're working and you've got constant interruptions, you're not going to get anything done. And so, because it's things like constant emails, your phone buzzing with notifications, that's always other people's priorities, isn't it? They want information from you. That's why they're sending you an email or sending you a message on WhatsApp, whereas your priority is to get on with something else. And I think if you have those boundaries, protecting your time from those interruptions, then say, for example, in my day job, I can finish work at 5 o'clock because I've been able to focus on what are my priorities and what's going to move me forward. And I'm not bringing that home so I can have the time to work on my side hustle. I also look at interruptions from friends and family, because say women who are working the evening on their side hustle, there's going to be the kids coming in asking, what are we having for tea? Or where's my favorite t-shirt? Is this ironed? Things like that. When you're working from home, you're going to get interruptions that you're not going to get when we all worked in an office. Because if you're in the office, your kid wouldn't turn up at the door asking for their mum, saying, what are we having for tea tonight? But when you're at home, maybe working at the kitchen table, the kid's going to interrupt. So I talk about trying to educate your family to recognize that that's important time for you, and basically not to interrupt you unless the house is burning down.
Or somebody's bleeding. That's the other one too.
Yes,
that's what I tell my kids too. Unless the house is burning down or somebody's bleeding, don't bother me.
Yeah, that's another good one.
That's great. Yeah, having those boundaries, setting those things for yourself. With my tight schedule, I definitely had to say, okay, on Tuesdays and Sundays between this time and this time, I'm doing my podcast, so please try not to bother me. So yeah, you make a great point in that. Excuse me. All right, so I know you said you were just kind of getting started with this, with your coaching, but what do you think actually stops entrepreneurs from getting across the start line?
Fear of failing, I would say. Yeah. Fear of looking stupid. Nobody's going to be interested in what I've got to say. Nobody's going to listen. I'm going to be rubbish. I think part of me still has that sometimes when I give talks in Facebook groups, but had some really good feedback. I think it's about, as they say, feeling the fear and doing it anyway, because my day job I've been doing for 14 years. So I know that like the back of my hand. And even though there's things in that are really difficult, I've been doing them for so long that you just get on with it. You don't have that same anxiety. I think you have to, however anxious you feel, the more you do it, the easier it gets for me. So I still have my stomach in knots when, particularly on a Facebook group talk, and you never know how many people are going to come on, but everybody has been so open to what I've got to say. I've found that I can help them that's built my confidence, I think, because sometimes you're like, who am I to talk to these people about time management? What do I know that they don't know? Actually, I think the more you do it, you realize maybe you, in the area that you've chosen it because you think you have that knowledge to share with other people. And I've found that once I get into conversations with people, then I really can help them and answer their questions. I think I'm afraid of not knowing the answer. And sometimes it's okay not to know the answer to a question, but as I say, just getting that positive feedback has been really good and helped me get over that initial anxiety of how am I going to be and am I going to look stupid?
So a lot of what you've talked about really kind of goes into one of my 4 pillars, which is imposter syndrome.
Mm.
So when I hear the words, who am I to, and am I good enough, or things like that, that almost red flags me into imposter syndrome. And that is one of my main pillars. We really have to be able to understand that not everybody knows exactly what you know. Right. So you are gonna be the speaking board for what you are trying to accomplish and what your positivity will say to these other people. Sometimes they might know what you already know, but that's okay. That's just reinforcing them on saying, hey, I know this. She knows this too. We have a common ground. That's great. That's actually a positive thing. What if it's something that you don't know, but they do? But that's a great thing too, because now you could add that to your bookcase of new information. They're not going to look down on you because you don't know it. That's what a lot of people are afraid of. They're going to look down on me because I don't know this. Is this common knowledge? Right? But now that you know that common knowledge, now you can give it to people who don't know those particular things. So, and having that repetitive work makes you more and more confident as you go along. Yeah, it's not going to be the same every time, but as you go along, you're going to realize, just like your regular job, just like you were saying earlier, the more you do it, the more confident you're going to be, the more of an expert you're going to be, and the more, what's the word now? My brain stopped. Sorry. That happens sometimes. Yay, editing. The more of an expert you're going to be in that particular thing that you're doing, you become the more efficient, right?
Definitely.
So, and fear, I look at fear a little bit differently than most. I look at fear as a guide, right? I use fear as I have to go do that thing because I'm scared of it, right? I don't know if anybody else does that, but when I'm scared of something, that's something in the back of my head saying, hey, you're scared of it. That means you need to go do it. Because a lot of times on the other side of that fear is greatness.
Yeah. And I think it's understanding our brains in terms of my understanding of life coaching. It's your higher brain is like, this is really good for me. This is going to move me forward. This is what I want to do. I want to talk to these people. I want to build my side hustle. But in the moment, like my primitive brain is like, oh no, this is too difficult. This is too hard. And it's like having an understanding of why you're feeling like this, but knowing you say your higher brain knows this is going to benefit you in the end. It's like going to the dentist, isn't it? I don't really want to be at the dentist. I knew it was a good idea to come and have a checkup, and now I'm here. I know it could be painful and turn out I have to have a fill-in or something, but it's your higher brain knows this is the right thing to do, and this is. But in the moment, say your primitive brain is telling you, I just want to walk out the door and go the other way. I don't want to click that link to join that Facebook group or that podcast. So I think it's just understanding how your brain works for me, and that's how when I was in the life coaching program, it really helped me understand that and what to expect from doing new things.
We got to train our brains into thinking that instead of having this anxiety or this grr feeling, and turn it into something positive. So instead of being fear, it could be excitement, or it can be something that you're really looking forward to, because all that information comes from the same part of our brain as anxiety.
Yeah.
It's the same section. I know this gets kind of weird, but I'm not a technical guy. This is just stuff I've read. But the same place in our brain that anxiety lives is the same place where excitement lives in our brains. So if we can make that switch and just change the wording from anxiety to excitement, that will transform us into some bigger and better things, because we'll be a lot less afraid of it and be more apt to want to go do the thing that we fear.
Yeah. Yeah, I use some mantras. I do some stuff about procrastination and get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable, and things like sayings I got on a sheet that I use and tell myself when I'm feeling like that, sort of some little like therapy things to counsel myself with when I'm feeling that fear.
Do you have one of them handy, or one that you could see there? Maybe you could tell us about?
Oh, I don't know whether I've got it here. It's a procrastination sheet that I did as a freebie. So yeah, progress feels uncomfortable. Yeah, and if you are constantly doing only what you feel like doing, you are not going to be moving forward. And then, yeah, to be able to do something well, you need to be prepared to do it badly lots of times. This was just a freebie that I had about procrastination because it was something, and I sort of talk about the brain in that and those little sayings and have some practical tips for helping people. But when you're talking about time management, see, sometimes it's not about having the time, it's facing that fear and doing it anyway, because people are procrastinating the task. So actually the task doesn't take that long to do. It's not about fitting it into your day, it's tackling it in the first place. So one of the things that I talk about as part of time management is this procrastination and feeling the fear and then doing it anyway.
So do you feel there's a common ground between procrastination and perfection?
I think that being a perfectionist, one of my other sayings is it's okay to do B- work. So sometimes writing blog posts or putting social media posts out there, people, again, their fear of failure, of looking stupid, they're like, this post has got to be perfect, but nothing is ever going to be perfect. And I'm like, it's better to put out a post every day that's a B- post than an A* post like once a week. I think it's getting comfortable with that and producing that work and putting it out into the world, because otherwise you're never going to put anything out there, because nothing is ever going to be perfect.
Yeah, agreed 100%. We're better off putting something out there than nothing and just waiting for the planets to align or this perfect situation to come across before we put anything out there. Be okay with it being kind of okay, and then get feedback from that and learn from that and see what other people are actually saying about it, and then make adjustments from there. Then you're going the right way with it, instead of just kind of guessing if it's going to work or not.
Yeah. And you can just improve on it in the future. You know, if you're putting social media posts out, you're always repeating your message anyway out there. So you put something out there, and then when your skills and knowledge are better, as you say, and you've had feedback, you just change it and improve it as you go along. And that's just about progressing, isn't it? Developing as a person, whether it's, for me, with women in their side hustle, or any business or any new skill that you're doing.
Exactly. And it's just like before, as we get more comfortable with putting it out there, it just gets better because we're doing it in a repetitive state.
Yeah.
All right. So when we talked about what you thought were stopping new entrepreneurs from getting across the start line, is that something that was happening to you too when you were getting across the start line? Was that something similar?
I'm trying to remember about feeling the fear and being an imposter. Yeah, I think I was more, it's never going to happen. And looking at other people and thinking they can do it, but it's not going to happen for me. It's just going to be a dream and always stay a dream. And I think sometimes I probably think that in my head now, but I think it's just about keep trying to move forward. But sometimes I think it's about that doubt that you're ever going to be able to succeed. That's been something for me. And I think you have to take the big view. Like, you can have a really good day. I get new followers or people on my email list, and I feel really positive, and you get those dopamine hits of, yes, I can do this. I'm really successful. And then I put a reel out on Instagram and it gets hardly any views. And so I feel that I've got this roller coaster of, yes, I can do it. No, I can't do it. And it's based on a single event or one day, rather than looking at how far have I come this month, these 6 months, this year. You have to look at the big picture sometimes, rather than let every single little event sway you. And that's it, I'm giving up today because my reel only got 50 views on Instagram.
Yeah, I go through that a lot too. Because want to do really good, I'll get like 1,000 views, something like that, and then the next one I got 20. Like, how does that even work? I don't understand I'm still trying to figure that out. But the thing that really strikes me in everything that you just said, Sam, was we really, it's comparison. And we were comparing ourselves to other people's entrepreneurial adventures, people that are bigger than us, have already taken the journey. And they were like, we're never going to get there if we're going to compare ourselves to them, because they've already been on the journey for 10 years. How are you going to catch up to them? So instead of comparing ourselves to these other people, we compare ourselves to ourselves. We compare ourselves to a week ago. We compare ourselves to a month ago. So we could see the journey and we could see forward from it as well, too. I'm gone this far from here to there. Now I could do something different to go from there to wherever it is that I want to go. So comparison is the killer of joy. It's really comparing ourselves to other people does not work. Now, it's okay to idolize them. Right? It's okay to have them as maybe a virtual mentor, but to do exactly the same thing that they're trying to accomplish, it just doesn't quite work out that way.
Yeah. As you say, I think you can learn from others, but your journey is never going to be the same as them, as you say. And you're comparing yourself to your first year of business to somebody else's 10th year of business. So you're never gonna, as you say, catch up with them. And I think, as you say, it's just about looking at your own journey and where have you come from. Look back at what you've done and what you've achieved. It's like they say in the horse on the race, putting those blinkers on, you stay in your lane. Don't keep looking to each side and see what everybody else is doing. Focus on what you're doing. Because I think also you can spend so much time, look at it from a time management perspective. I can waste time on Instagram looking at what other people are doing rather than creating my own content and putting it out there, which is what's going to move me forward. Just scrolling other people's content and thinking, oh, look, they got 2,000 views on their reel and I only got 50 is not going to move me forward unless I'm trying to learn unless they are teaching me how they got that and I can learn from them. But just looking at it and feeling envy is not going to help me move forward.
100%. Absolutely. Right. So we talk about pitfalls a lot and what we've come across as far as challenges that we've had in our business. But do you have an actual pitfall or problem that you're actually proud of? I'm glad this pitfall happened because it pushed me along to do this. Has anything like that ever happened to you?
That's a hard one. I tried to think of something off the top of my head I can't in the moment think about anything. Something will probably come to me afterwards that I'll think of or as we're talking, but
that's usually when the best stuff pops up is after the interview is over, right?
Yeah, definitely. But I can't think of anything at the moment bad that has happened. And then I think I'm glad that did, and that has moved me forward. No, sorry.
No, that's okay. How about this? How long have you actually been in business? Your side hustle has been around for how long?
My side hustle has been around only for about a year that I've been posting, but it's only recently I say my side hustle. I think I've been promoting freebies, building an email list, and now I've recently, in May of this year, recorded a course and released that. So I'm selling my course. So I think I've just been looking at it as I'm building an audience, building my knowledge, developing my confidence, and then actually selling something is only May of this year.
So in that time, what is your biggest accomplishment? Is it the course that you're putting together, or what has been your biggest accomplishment so far?
I think doing just being prepared to put myself out there, really. I try and like people see me. I talk on Instagram a lot on stories, and I try to just do that. And people say to me when I see them, I go to some in-person networking events locally, and people say, "Oh, you're just like you are on stories, and you're always talking on there." And they won't put themselves out there. They are just taking pictures and stuff like that. And I just really try and be brave, and because I just think things like that last 24 hours, does it matter? But I think just also approaching people, putting myself forward for things like this, for podcasts, Facebook groups. Some people never come back to you. Other people do. I think, what's the worst that's going to happen? So I try and get out of my comfort zone and say, volunteer for things or approach people and ask if they'd be interested in having me do a talk. And it's amazing how many people it's trying to not be fearful of having those no's, either ignoring you or come back and saying, I'm not interested. So really just try and think, actually, all of those no's are good because it means I've asked a lot of times, and some of those are going to be yeses.
No, sometimes could be a good thing. I said that on a podcast a couple weeks back, but no, it could be a learning experience if you handle it the right way. Mm-hmm. So if somebody says no to you and you've worked with them for a little while, I think you've earned the right to ask, how come? Mm-hmm. How come is it no? Then if they're good people, not always the case, but if they're good people, let's say because of this, and now you know that this is something that you could work on. It's something you can improve on. So the next one will be a lot less likely to be no if you come across the same situation. Mm-hmm. So no, even though right from the very beginning, it seems like a negative thing. Mm-hmm. But in actuality, once you actually sit down and think about it, no can be a positive thing too.
Yeah, I suppose that's about getting constructive feedback, isn't it? Well, because if everybody says yes or is nice to you about what you're putting out, but actually they don't want to tell you no and that it's not very good, that is not going to help, is it? It's like being at school and the teacher giving you good marks is really you're rubbish because you're never going to pass the exam. So you need to have that feedback to help you improve. It's about being prepared to be a lifelong learner. When we're children, we're just used to learning. We're used to being judged, getting things marked. You do your driving test, you're used to stalling the car, just doing things wrong. And then when you become an adult and you've been competent, whether that's in your career, and then you step outside of your comfort zone, it's just not natural anymore. We've lost that ability to be learners. And I think it's when you starting any business or anything new, you have got to be prepared to be a learner again and to be rubbish, but to practice, and you will get better.
Yeah, I call those ugly babies.
Ugly babies.
Ugly babies. Because when you first start something out, it's terrible. It's going to be terrible because you've never done anything before. So it's ugly, right? I don't know. I heard that somewhere. But yeah, you know what's funny is when I get some feedback, when I ask a friend or a relative, hey, what do you think of this? I always get that's great. That's not what I want to hear. As much as you want to think about, you want it to be like so positive, in the back of my head is, no, tell me something I could work on. Tell me something, tell me something's bad so I know I could go back and I could fix it. As much as getting positive feedback is awesome, at the same time, it's not always what I'm looking for. It's not the niceties that I'm looking for. I want that constructive feedback so I can improve things.
Yeah, and I think when people give you feedback, they've probably taken a lot more time to look at, like in my day job, and I write reports for work. If my manager reads it and they come back and they say it's fine, I'm like, no, tell me more. I want you to show me that you've read it. And then these bits are really good, but you need to think about this more in these sections. So people have actually taken the time to really think about what I've produced. Whereas if they come back and just say it's fine, have you really read it? And there can't be everything that's good about it. There must be some things that can be improved.
Exactly. And that's what we look for as content creators and people that want to help other people. All right. So all my listeners, on my podcast, or most of them anyway, I think, are all brand new entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of advice would you give to a brand new entrepreneur that comes up to you and asks for advice? What would you tell them?
I would say I suppose just start. So don't spend too much time thinking about it. Just make a start, because it's procrastination and trying to be perfect. Just actually do something, put something out there, get some content out into the world, because you can always change it. If you've got one focus, and like people talk about niching down, you have to be more specific, and people are worried about choosing the wrong area. But I think you can always change that, but just start, because you'll always wish I wish I'd started my side hustle 10. I'm in my mid 50s. So I'm like, I wish I'd done this 10, 15, 20 years ago, but I'm here now. So I think it's just start. And in lots of things, I think we've talked about, just be prepared to be a learner and be open to learning and be open to being rubbish. As you said, what was it? Being an ugly baby.
Yes.
First, or putting out ugly babies. Just, be prepared for that. And there is so much information out there nowadays. I always tell people, and people procrastinate and say, oh, well, I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to have an email service provider, and I don't know how to make reels. And I'm like, we've got YouTube, we've got Google, we've got ChatGPT now. There are freebies galore that people want to give you to get you onto their email list. There are free courses. There is so much information out there. So sometimes people will say they've put themselves in these mindsets of, I'm not techie, I'm not this, so I can't start a side hustle, I can't start a business. It's just, you can learn so much from the internet, more than any other time in the history of humankind, I would think. So that is not a reason. You will find a way. Who is it? Marie Forleo. Everything is figure outable. I think I listened to her audio book. And I think that's true. If you're determined enough, you can learn anything on YouTube, I think.
YouTube University. Look it up. Yeah. Yes. Okay. That's fantastic. And I got to tell you, I'm not a technical guy. I am definitely not a technical guy. But if I'm able to put together a podcast, anybody can. Yeah. And it's kind of the same idea, too. I looked it up in a book. I watched a YouTube video. I figured it out. And now I'm doing this. And yeah, I wish I started a lot sooner, too. I'm going to be honest with you, Sam. I heard a proverb, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, but the second best time to plant a tree is today. Yeah. So do it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do this with all my guests and put together a 6-month goal. So where do you see you and your company in the next 6 months, Sam?
In the next 6 months, I plan to have, at the moment, I'd say my course is a basic mini course, I call it, because it's 6 bite-sized lessons. So I plan to develop a much longer and more in-depth course and sell that. So I suppose at the moment, I've got what people would call my low ticket offer, and I plan to develop a high ticket offer and sell that, so that people can start with my basic course and see if they like it, and then they could go on to the high ticket course. So that's my plan for the next 6 months, to develop that high ticket course.
Awesome. That's great. So what I'd like to do with you, Sam, if it's okay with you, I'd actually like to have another interview with you in 6 months.
Okay.
See if you've reached that goals and see what changes have come across in those 6 months in your business. Is that okay?
That sounds wonderful.
All right, because now you're not just accountable to me, but you're accountable to everybody that's in my audience, okay?
Yeah. Well, that's great.
All right, Sam, this is your time to shine. This is the time I want you to advertise yourself. I want you to tell us how we get a hold of you. And if you can, give us how we get a hold of some of these freebies that you got going on, and maybe even that little mini course you were talking about.
Okay, so I mainly hang out on Instagram. That is my favorite social media platform. So I'm Time Coach Sam on Instagram. I have a website, timecoachsam.com. I have a freebie, which is basically 30 tips and techniques about how to organize your life so you can find time for a side hustle. So you can get that just on my website. There's a link in my profile from Instagram. I also have that procrastination cheat sheet as one of my freebies. That is not on my website, but it is on Instagram. So, and then my mini course, that's linked on my website and also on Instagram.
All right, fantastic. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you very much for having me, Jesse. It's been great.
All right. All right, Skoop believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. Okay, everybody, thank you. Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Sam. What a great conversation we had with Sam. And she made some great points about embracing your fear, about perfectionism. We really hit a lot of great points, but the one thing that really kind of stuck out to me is embrace your fear and just start your entrepreneur adventure. Even if you doubt your abilities, just take the first step. Put yourself out there, offer your services, even if it's for free, and build confidence through that experience, because that's the only way we're going to be able to show that confidence, is gathering that experience and knowing that you could actually do what you set out to do. And always celebrate the small wins and focus on your own progress, not the progress of other people, because a lot of other people that you're going to be following are going to be a little bit further along than you are, but that's okay. Instead of doing that comparison, compare yourself to yourself, just like we talked about in the interview. And remember, comparison is the enemy of joy. So track how far you have come and use setbacks as opportunities to learn and improve. So when we do have those failures, we learn from those failures. And we use those failures to improve on what we're doing to get across that start line. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for another great episode, and I will see you next week. Goodbye for now. And there you have it, future entrepreneurs. We've taken another step towards our journey to get across that start line. Remember, every great business starts with a single idea and the courage to pursue it. You've already shown that courage by joining us here today. As we wrap up this episode of The Undiscovered Entrepreneur, I want to remind you that the start line isn't as far away as you might think. With each bit of knowledge you gain, each fear you face, you're getting closer to launching your dream. Until our next episode together, keep pushing, keep dreaming, and most importantly, keep taking those steps across the start line. They'll all add up to big strides in your entrepreneur adventure. This is Skoop, your guide across the start line. Remember, your future is waiting. I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today. Do you find yourself faltering when speaking in public? You definitely know what you're talking about, but you just can't seem to get over the horrific fear, and imagining people in their underwear is just not working. Whether you're gearing up for a big presentation or just looking to improve your daily communications, Leslie Fiorenzo is your go-to resource for mastering self-promotion, facing your audience fearlessly, and communicating with authority. Don't miss out on your opportunity to elevate your game. Contact Leslie Fiorenzo now, or go to tuepodcast.net/speak to step into the spotlight with confidence. Your adventure in public speaking mastery starts here and now. Don't wait to get your voice heard. Book your free consultation at tuepodcast.net/speak to start your adventure in speaking excellence today.